Yeah, tell me this life story.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you go back to your grandmother? And she came up here in 1861, isn't that right?
Yes. Well, of course, I was born 1888, August the 15th, 1888, see. And that's how many years ago now?
That's a long time ago,
Boy,
96
oh
years
boy,
ago.
oh boy, oh boy. And lived downtown on 4th and Oak. And knew, and then, you know, there was, nobody lived down there but us. And Dad worked for the big different Hoffer and Hass. Did you ever hear? I can't even write that name, but that was the name of the company that Dad worked for, Differ and Hoffer and Hass.
Yeah.
And we had a beautiful dog named Maud, and right there behind you I have the pictures of my old grandfather sitting on the back porch, and my beautiful dog sitting here, and me standing beside my grandfather when I was about 3 years old and everything. But anyway, that's a long, long, long time, and that was down on 7th, right off of Gleason Street. Right off of Gleason, down on by the post office down there. And that's where my parents lived, was down there. And my dad worked for the company Differ and Hoffer and Hass. That was the name of the company that my dad worked for. And they hauled sacks of oak, there's my phone ringing now. So, how long do I have to sit here?
This is Bob.
Well, we just want to just, you know,
Just a few more minutes?
no, just tell me some stories here.
And Eleanor is on her way to Oakland. She'll be down there now for the helping out down there. And Mary Jane has been here for 2 days visiting. And I talked to Sister Frances last night, and she's enjoying herself down there. It's where they live there now, you know, with all her new work, and she's acquainted with all her children down there now, but she had to get acquainted brand new to all of the people because she had never lived down there before. She loves it.
Where was your grandfather's milk ranch when it was downtown? Where?
It's on what's the name of that?
Jefferson? It was near.
At the head of Jefferson Street was
Right.
my grandfather's milk ranch.
And it was under
And
what is.
that was 20 years before I was born.
Right. But that was under what is now the Suicide Bridge, right?
Yes.
Right.
That was the road, a dirt road, Canyon Road. Boy, did we walk that many times to go to visit our grandparents. And we'd start out, and my mother would make a pie. And it'd be my sister Sadie and I, and my brother George, and sometimes my brother Owen, that the 4 of us would start out the Canyon Road. Well, I'd get mad carrying the pie, so I'd say, Sadie, carry the pie for a while. And then pretty soon Sadie'd get mad and give the pie to somebody else, you know, to carry. And gradually, by the time we got to my grandmother's, all I was praying of that there was enough with the pie,
Yeah.
that it hadn't been mashed all to pieces.
And that's when they moved up to
And
the
that's
top
where
of
we
Sylvan
moved
Hill.
to the head of Canyon Road.
Right.
Yeah, and that's where my grandfather's, yeah, and that's where I learned to walk.
Yeah.
And when my grandfather, after he had become quite an old man, he had a funny limp that he'd limp along. And then my dad would take me in the horse and buggy, my mother and my horse and buggy and I, and we'd stay a couple of days at my grandmother's ranch out
Yeah.
there. And then I'd watch my grandfather go out to the barn where all the horses and the cows were, you know. And my grandfather would go just so far and then he'd limp. And I was 1 or 2 or 3 years old, and I'd follow them out, and my mother and my grandmother stand on the porch and laugh their heads off because I'd be right behind my grandmother, and every limp my grandfather took, I'd take a limp, and I'd follow him clear out to the cow barn.
Right.
And they used to just sit there and laugh. They said, "Look at her now, what she's doing." I'd go like this, follow the grandpa, because by that time grandpa was an old man, you know, when they that time.
Well, he come from Ireland?
That was at Sylvan.
That was a Sylvan.
Yeah, oh yes. They
And that was the
came very-
McLaughlin family.
Way, McLaughlin.
McLaughlin.
Yeah, that was
Right.
the grandpa and grandma McLaughlins, yeah.
Well, did they come from Ireland? Or,
Yeah, they came from Ireland
Yeah,
into New York.
right.
Yeah, those people came to New York from Ireland.
And then they came across
And
to
then they came out
the gold rush country.
And they came out to the gold rush and they went clear across the top of the United States and on down and up as far as around Medford. That was the first place after you turned
Yeah.
to come up from down there. And that was the town, and that's where my grandfather and grandmother stayed. And that's where I was
I saw
born,
it coming.
down there in that gold mine.
Yeah.
And there were all kinds of people there digging gold. And then my grandfather would come, the money that he got, or the gold, that he came in and give it to my mother to put in a certain can. And by that time, I could sit up on the floor, and my mother would sprinkle the gold all around me on the floor. In some place in my grandmother's things, which is dead and gone now, there's a picture of me sitting, just able to sit up, and the gold spread on the floor all the way around me, and my mother doing the washing and the ironing in a big tub right on the floor, right next almost, because we all lived in these small places. Who was that just came in? Who was that?
I don't know, sister.
Huh? Who is that?